Peace, peoples. Peace. Peace. Let me get that Charleston White and Math Arthur a break for a while. Get back on track on what's going on around the real world. You heard? That shit YouTube bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What y'all doing on this good Wednesday? Good Wednesday, Hump Day. So we gonna do Hump Day Wednesday current events. And I know if y'all didn't watch the video on the channel with the young man from Utah that was killed by police officers. He was white. And we discussed that. Let's get into it, y'all. We're gonna get into that story. We doing current events.
Demanding answers following the death of their son during a police traffic stop. ABC's Doreen Shaw joins us with more as the family tries to find out the circumstances surrounding the officer-involved shooting. Doreen, good morning again to you. Good morning, Janae. Family, local officials, and the public were putting a lot of pressure on police, and now it is still early in the investigation, but overnight, police finally released what they saw on those body-worn cameras. This morning, 5 Utah police officers are on administrative leave following a shooting in broad daylight that left a man dead and his family searching for answers.
Enter 71, medic 71 response to there's 1-4 gunshot.
Overnight, Farmington police giving their most detailed account of the shooting that happened outside the local post office. According to police, 25-year-old Chase Allen was pulled over Wednesday because his car had an illegitimate license plate. They say he refused to cooperate or show any identification. Responding officers called for backup. They allegedly asked Allen to get out of the car, but they say he refused. Police then described what they saw on body camera, saying as they tried to pull him out, an observing officer yelled, "Gun, gun, gun." They say a struggle lasted a few seconds, and then gunshots could be heard through the camera. Police say the footage also shows an empty holster on Allen's right hip and a handgun on the driver's side floorboard.
I know my guys, and if they fired shots, I'm certain they were in fear of their life.
The legislature's made it so easy to carry a firearm, whether in your vehicle or on your person. So it really gets down to not the fact that he had a gun. Did he point that in the direction of the police officer?
Allen's sister called what happened a brutal murder and wrote, "We found out about Chase's death along with the entirety of our community via news reporters." Now, the family says that Chase was a loving soul and that he was studying law for the last few years so that he could defend people's freedom and liberty in their community. Now, as for that body camera, it is still unclear when it will be released.
See, ladies and gentlemen, so all lives matter. You know what I'm saying?
I'm certainly glad that y'all can.
All lives matter.
We have a case
But
that
we got another that was in Utah. I believe that was a couple days ago. Then we had another shooting, I believe it was yesterday in Delaware. This young man, they said he was doing a drug deal. Somebody, if the cops knew he was doing a drug deal, that mean the informant must have alerted the officers that he was about to do a drug deal and where at. Because when he was waiting for the deal to go down, officers pulled up in front of him, an unmarked car, unmarked truck, jumped out with his gun out. So, you know, he kind of like, it's crazy, because he don't know if he was being robbed or whatever the case might have been, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you sitting there and you know deep inside you about to do a drug deal and you got a certain amount of drugs on you, or somebody pull up in a regular civilian vehicle and jump out with a gun, you think you about to get robbed. So, of course, you're going to try to pull off, especially if you ain't got no gun on you. You know what I'm saying? Your intentions is to get the fuck up out of there. So what happened was, his intentions was to get the fuck up out of there. And, you know, officers unloaded on the car. You know what I'm saying? You can see it on the video. This happened in Delaware, y'all. So All lives matter, y'all. It's just not, you know, when George Floyd was murdered by officers and other black brothers was murdered in the hands of police officers. It's white and black people out in the streets marching and protesting. BLM, Antifa, remember? Where BLM and Antifa on this situation? If all lives matter, right? Y'all pick and choose y'all battles in certain times. I noticed that. Y'all pick and choose y'all battles, who y'all want to protect and stand up for certain times of the year during election time. But if all lives matter, it should be boots on the ground for this young man, both these young men. He was 25. I believe this young man was 21. Where Black Lives Matter and Antifa at? Where the outrage at? Where the marching and protesting? But when a black man killed, you see black and white people in the streets marching and protesting. Let's get into it. Let's go.
Yeah, Jason and Shiva, the person who died in this deadly officer-involved shooting has been identified as 22-year-old Andrew Edelman. He's from Newcastle. I went over to his house earlier today, talked with his family. They're understandably upset. They want to know why it had to happen this way. I also talked to police who say they had information that Edelman would be in this area and be involved in a drug deal involving a large amount of drugs, and when they went to arrest him, that's when the shooting happened. This surveillance video from Clark's cell phone corner shows a view of an officer-involved shooting in a 7-Eleven parking lot on Maryland Avenue in Wilmington. In it, you can see an undercover police truck blocks in the driver of an SUV. An officer gets out of the passenger side of the police truck with gun in hand, firing as they attempt to get out of the way of the SUV.
He jumped out the truck with gun in hand. So if you sitting there and you waiting for a deal to go down and the person pull up in a civilian car and jump out with a gun in the hand, first thing you think is, damn, if you don't got no gun on you, is to pull the fuck off.
At the same time, a police vehicle with lights on pulls up on the side of the building, and the driver of the SUV comes to a stop behind them.
Officers were aware that Edelman was going to deliver drugs at a specific location last evening at about 7:30 p.m. They're aware of the vehicle and the description of him. Officers attempted to apprehend Edelman, at which time he accelerated the vehicle and almost struck one of our officers.
Police say they attempted to arrest Edelman, but he ignored their commands. Edelman and a 21-year-old passenger were shot. She's at the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Officers found illegal drugs and a loaded assault-style rifle in the driver's floorboard. I talked to Edelman's family this afternoon.
Andrew was a good man. He was a family man. Today's his birthday. And I saw the video of that cop. He was just trying to get away. How do you know it was the cop? It was our car.
No officers were hurt during the incident. The Criminal Investigations Unit and the Delaware Department of Justice Division of Civil Rights and Public Trust are currently investigating this shooting. The family says they want more answers from police as to what exactly happened.
He was loyal, he was honest, he was funny. He would give you the shirt off of his back. We want somebody to come and talk to us. This is not over.
The officer is a 10-year veteran of the division, and per policy, he will be placed on administrative leave in Wilmington, Delaware. Eddie Cato.
My thing is this, bro. Why they always gotta wait to put the footage out there? Like, they might put the footage out there 2 months from now. You know what I'm saying? It happened yesterday. They should be able to present this footage, you know, within 24 hours. Produce the footage. You know what I'm saying? But that happened there, y'all. My thing is this. Why ain't BLM and Antifa Because all lives matter, right? Blue lives matter, black lives matter, all lives matter, white lives matter. So why ain't there no outrage in the streets how it was every time someone black is murdered by the hands of a police officer? But here it is, two young men don't get no support from you fake ass BLM and Antifa members. We already know BLM stole all that money behind George Floyd and lived a lavish lifestyle. We already know that. And Antifa, we already know what they're about. We already know what Antifa about. Antifa about destruction. Fucking up the infrastructure. And then put a black face on it. And some of you Negroes fall for that shit. Like during the protests and the riots that was happening 2 years ago. Fell for that shit. Burning and looting and doing all types of foolishness 2 years ago in the streets. Worse than the January 6th riot. But no one got no backlash like they got backlash from the January 6th riot. See how y'all pick and choose y'all battles? But anyway, let's continue on with current event Hump Day Wednesday. And this next story is about, and we talked about, and like I said, I don't want to talk too much about the Charleston White and Math Hartford beef, but my thing is, with Charleston White, he was disrespecting the dead, the kids, and the 9/11 victims, right? It's crazy. Now look what happened in West Philadelphia last night to a 9/11 memoir, you know what I'm saying? A painting. Look what happened, y'all. To the 9/11, was it Charleston White that did this?
The vandalism happened sometime between Friday night and early Monday morning. The woman who commissioned the mural noticed it on her way into work.
It's Tom Crotty. We met his brother.
At the corner of 56 and Thompson Streets in West Philadelphia, one wall of Elsie Gott's Caldwell's tax practice is a living memorial of some of the local lives lost on 9/11.
And it's Sean, and then Peter and Kenny with the William Penn Charter.
Kenny is Caldwell's son, Kenneth Marcus Caldwell, who was working on the 102nd floor of the North Tower. He never made it out.
And he had like a really warm heart, right? And if you met him, he would make you feel like he knew you forever.
Her personal connection with the faces and families of those on this mural is what makes what happened so hurtful.
Someone spray painted on the mural. And I just got up and I just stood there and looked at it for a while.
This past weekend, vandals used green spray paint to deface the picture of a local firefighter.
This is Daryl Proctor. He was a firefighter, but he was a part of my church at our mother's sorrow.
And a local police officer,
Ray Drummond, he was in Vice.
along with the American flag painted to honor Penn Charter graduate Peter Ortali.
How heartless could somebody be? This is not just a mural that our 9/11 support group has. It belongs to the community too.
While it's still not clear why these specific images were targeted,
One of my friends said, it's personal. I said, what do you mean it's personal? They said, because if they only did the police officer and they only did the firefighter.
Caldwell says she's already working with a local artist to repaint the defaced pictures, determined not to let hate win.
We're not letting it go. It's going to stay. It's going to stay. It's going to always be here.
Caldwell did file a police report. Officials are asking anyone who may have seen anything to come forward. Alicia Roberts, CBS.
See that? But yet Charleston White can disrespect the 9/11 victims. Like I said, I don't give a damn about him and Math Hartford beef. Like I said, they can pull each other eyeballs out their head. I don't give a damn about them niggas. I'm talking about the dead and mothers and kids and victims, people still, you know, holding on to the memories of that 9/11 thing, man, for you to disrespect them folks like that. I ain't understand that. If you got a problem with that person, deal with that person. Take it up with that person. That's like you the type of bitch ass nigga that if you got a problem with a person, you'll put sugar in his gas tank instead of going after that nigga. Cause you's a bitch ass nigga. And that's the same situation. You understand what I'm saying? If you got beef with Math Hawthorne or you got beef with whoever, don't bring the dead. They ain't got nothing to do with this internet bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Let their body rest. You understand what I'm saying? Let their body rest, man, because the soul gonna always be here on earth. You know? The soul's gonna always be here once you leave your body. The body is gone, the shell is gone, but the spirit is still here, my man. So let the spirits always, let's praise the spirits. You know, not disrespect the spirits. When they gone, there's people still grieving from their loved ones. I don't give a damn about when people say, oh, Charleston White got them people hot, this, that, and the third. Of course he gonna have people hot talking about their loved ones. You understand what I'm saying? Just deal with that person. If I got beef with you, I'm gonna bring it to you. I ain't gonna bring it to your little daughter or your little son or go to your loved one grave site and talk shit to the grave site, disrespecting the dead. Nah, I'm gonna bring that shit slam to you. I don't have no respect for that man doing shit like that, man. And whoever co-signed that shit. And that's that. But let's continue on with these current events, y'all. What else we got going on current events? That was the 9/11. And let's talk about, and like I said, these sisters, and I thought it was sisters at first, but it was one sister and 3 brothers. What the hell are they doing over in goddamn Mexico, knowing America got the red flag on his back? You know what I'm saying? Anybody that traveled to these foreign countries are not safe. They tell you this shit. So for you to go get a tummy tuck or a BBL, or if them niggas, you going down there and y'all going to look for some drugs and shit, to bring some drugs back across the border. Huh? What the fuck is wrong with our peoples, man? You know you shouldn't be traveling in these foreign countries right now when we at war with every motherfucking country that's around us. But anyway, hold on. And for those who didn't know, Malcolm X's grandson was murdered in Mexico. So what are black folks doing traveling in fucking Mexico? For what? What is in Mexico you want at the black market? A BBL? A tummy tuck? Some drugs? Is it worth it? Let's get into the story about Malcolm X's grandson when he was murdered in Mexico. Let's go.
Shabazz, the grandson of civil rights icon Malcolm X, has been killed in Mexico, according to the Amsterdam News. He was 28. Reports are still coming through about the cause of his death. Talking Points memo reported that Shabazz died of injuries sustained during a robbery, while family friend Juan Ruiz called it murder. Joining us now to discuss is Black Voices editor here at HuffPost, Danielle Cadet. Danielle, what do we know?
You know, honestly, we really don't know much. Right now, there are conflicting reports. The U.S. Embassy has not released an official statement. There has been information from a family friend, actually Terry Williams, on her Twitter account, did confirm Malcolm's death. And it's she's a pretty reliable source. She was actually the individual who got him out of jail for the incident that he's most well known for, which was when he was 12 years old, when he set fire to his grandmother's house, which eventually she sustained injuries that eventually led to her death. So right now there are still the details are very murky.
I didn't know that.
We know that
he set his grandmother's house on fire, y'all. He set his grandmother's house on fire, what eventually led to her death. Malcolm X's grandson, y'all.
He was apparently robbed. I've seen some reports of him being beaten. I've seen reports of him being thrown out of a window. So they're really, really conflicting reports right now, and it's going to be interesting, as we wait for the family to release a statement and as we wait for the U.S. Embassy to release an official statement.
It sounds like this is the last tragic event in what has been a pretty troubled life.
Absolutely. Malcolm Shabazz was really in and out of jail, really had a lot of run-ins with the law. Again, going back to, the most notable situation when he, going back to, being a preteen and being 12 years old. He's been in and out of jail with, robbery and assault, and he was... Yeah. When he got out of jail in 2002, he was again arrested for punching a hole through a store window. So he really has had a bit of a troubled life, and he, was coming out and saying that he was working with the youth, and that he seemed to really be appeared to be kind of changing his lifestyle, but he really, unfortunately, is well known for having a bit of a troubled life. In stark contrast to his grandfather, Malcolm X.
Right. And Richard, because this happened in Mexico, can the U.S. authorities investigate?
They certainly can investigate, and Mexico wants to learn everything, so I believe Mexico will most likely allow the U.S. authorities to help them, at a minimum help them, to investigate. But, it's as she just said, he had an unfortunate life. He's been in jail a few times, not only the death of his grandmother, the fire in 2002, the attempted robbery, he was in jail for 3.5 years, the assault in 2006, so it's unfortunate that the life...
Unfortunately, he's going to get help from America. He was a troubled child, and not only that, his grandfather, being Malcolm X. So, no, we haven't really heard this story in America, and a lot of y'all probably didn't know that, right? A lot of y'all didn't know that.
Now man leads, and I believe that the Mexicans are going to welcome the U.S. to help them figure out what exactly happened. We don't know if it was a standby robbery or if there was something involving illicit activity, which he may very well have been involved in. We will know everything about this investigation as well.
Drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, y'all. We found another video. They might have found the guys who killed Malcolm Shabazz. Let's see.
This is Malcolm Shabazz, grandson of Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, through their daughter, Kabila Shabazz. She was one of the witnesses to Malcolm X's assassination in 1965, when she was just 4 years old. Malcolm Shabazz and the story of his life, as well as the strange murder in Mexico City, has largely been unknown. Shabazz was born in Paris, France on October 8th, 1984, to an Algerian man. Shabazz had a difficult upbringing. He never knew his father and struggled with mental health issues throughout his childhood. He lived in several different cities as a child, having a difficult time making friends. He was also described as a pyromaniac. At 3 years old, Malcolm set fire to his own shoes and soon became obsessed with fires, something that would later come to change his entire life. In the 3rd grade, he brought knives to school, and teachers described him as having delusional thoughts and was even hospitalized for a short time due to these troubles. In 1995, 9-year-old Malcolm would have to witness the arrest of his mother, Kabila, due to her trying to hire a hitman to assassinate Louis Farrakhan. She believed that Farrakhan was responsible for the death of her father. An FBI informant tricked Kabila into thinking he was an assassin, and even built up a relationship with young Malcolm. Even Malcolm calling him, quote, the father he never had. Kabila accepted a plea deal and would avoid jail time as part of the deal, but she would have to undergo psychological counseling and drug and alcohol treatment. 11-year-old Malcolm later moved to New York to live with his grandmother, Betty Shabazz, the wife of Malcolm X. Malcolm would frequently jet between New York and Texas, visiting his mother whenever possible. Kabila married while she was undergoing treatment, but the marriage was toxic and ended quickly. Despite this, Malcolm bonded well with his stepfather, but after the divorce, Malcolm once again lost that father figure he so desperately craved. Quickly after the divorce, Malcolm and his mother would frequently fight, and sometimes the fights would become physical. In one instance, Malcolm's mother called the police on him, telling the police that she wanted young Malcolm committed to a mental institution. After being admitted, he would quickly be released. Soon after, Malcolm and his mother once again had a physical altercation, and this time, Malcolm called the police on himself. Because of the horrible relationship he had with his mother, Malcolm would be sent back to New York to live with his grandmother, Betty. I said earlier that Malcolm was described as a pyromaniac, obsessed with starting fires. This obsession would lead to an event that would change his life forever. On June 1st, 1997, 12-year-old Malcolm was still living in Betty Shabazz's apartment when he doused the apartment in gasoline and set it on fire. Betty would be severely burned, suffering burns on over 80% of her body. Betty had no idea it was her grandson that started the fire and attempted to save him. Malcolm left the apartment covered in gasoline and barefoot wandering the streets. The police found him in a disturbed state and apprehended him. 22 days later, Betty died in a hospital from her injuries after doctors attempted 5 skin grafts to save her life. Due to his young age, the criminal case was kept from the public. Former Mayor of New York David Dinkins and Manhattan Borough President Percy Sutton
They
represented
kept that from the
Shabazz
public. Y'all heard that? They kept that from the public, y'all.
at the trial, saying to the judge that while Malcolm did start the fire, he meant no harm to his grandmother. Shabazz's 2 lawyers tried to arrange for him to be admitted to an institution that would help Malcolm with his troubled mental health. This did not happen. Shabazz ultimately pled guilty and was sentenced to 18 months in a juvenile detention center. During his sentence, he attempted to escape 3 times. Due to his repeated escapes, he would serve a total of 4 years instead of 18 months he was supposed to serve. In a 2003 interview, 18-year-old Shabazz gave his version of the events leading up to the fire. He said that he was unhappy living with his grandmother. I set a fire in the hallway, and I didn't think the whole thing through thoroughly. But she didn't have to run through that fire. There was another way out of the house from her room. I guess what she thought was I was stuck, and she had to run and get me because it was in front of my room as well. She ran through the fire. I did not picture that happening, that she would do that. Expressing regret for his actions, Malcolm said he would sit in his jail cell and ask for a sign of forgiveness from his dead grandmother. He also admitted that he would fake hearing voices in his head as a child in order to get attention. As you can imagine, many people were not happy after hearing this interview. He would continue to get in trouble with the law. He would serve 3.5 years in prison for armed robbery after trying to steal $100 from a man. Again, he was arrested in 2006 for punching a hole in a store window of a donut shop in Yonkers. But it was after this arrest that Malcolm would turn a new leaf and follow in his father's footsteps and convert to Islam. In 2010, he made the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Things were finally starting to look up for Malcolm. Malcolm would become an activist. He went to Mexico City with labor activist Miguel Suarez, who led a tour to demand for better wages and more rights for Mexican construction workers living in the U.S. Suarez and Shabazz were lured to a bar on Friday, May 9th, 2013, in the tourist part of Mexico City known as Garibaldi Plaza. During the night, the bar's owner sent 2 waiters, Manuel Alejandro Perez and David Hernandez Cruz, and demanded Shabazz pay the $1,200 tab. Many of the bars in this area of Mexico City are notorious for overcharging and scamming foreigners, especially black foreigners. Shabazz refused to pay. The bar robbed and beat him with a metal rod and abandoned him on a nearby street. Malcolm was taken to the hospital for his injuries, where he died shortly after due to blunt force trauma. Weeks later, the 2 waiters were arrested by Mexican authorities for the murder, and in 2015 were both sentenced to 27 years in prison. In 2014, another waiter was arrested while in hiding. At the time of his death at just 28 years old, it seemed that Shabazz had been turning his life around. He had avoided any legal trouble for over 7 years and had embraced his lineage to Malcolm X and wanted to follow in his footsteps as an activist. He had plans to construct several mosques and schools throughout America, as well as set up programs to help the youth stay away from drugs, gangs. We will never truly know what he could have been if he was still alive today. The media was still fixated on the fire in 1997. Many of the articles written about him mostly talked about what he did at 13 years old. His body was flown back to New York, where he is buried now at Ferncliff Cemetery, near his grandparents Malcolm X, Betty Shabazz.
That was
Today our people can see that we're faced with a government conspiracy.
this video about to end, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back with another video, but we're gonna most definitely touch on them 4 Americans traveling to Mexico to get a tummy tuck or allegedly buy some drugs. It wasn't worth it. As you can see what happened to Malcolm X's grandson. With that being said, until the next time, I love you all. Stand on your square, put the Most High first. Everything else will fall in place. Peace.